The orphanage was about to shut down, and I was the only child left without anyone willing to adopt me. Out of desperation, the director faked a minor accident with a kind-hearted couple riding a three-wheeled motorbike, forcing them to take me in. Just then, a wave of floating comments appeared in the air. "Dylan girl, stop hurting kind people already. Still wondering why no one wants to adopt her? With that selfish and manipulative nature, of course she'll say yes. Don't worry, she's just a white-eyed wolf, won't take a month before she's abandoned again." The couple looked up at the floating comments, puzzled. Then, they squatted down together and gently asked, "Sweetie, would you like to come home with us? I'll take you for a ride on our trike." In front of me were two honest, warm faces. To the side, the orphanage director was desperately winking at me. I glanced at the flying comments above the yard, sneered in disdain, and said, "No." Instantly, the comment section went wild. "Oh my god, are these two illiterate?" The comments couldn't be more obvious. "Can't believe the evil side character said no. Did she suddenly grow a conscience? Nope, she probably just thinks they're too poor." Furious, the director slapped his thigh. "We've been camping by the gate for 2 months," he grumbled, "and now I finally tricked someone into believing my made-up story. I can't give up now." He kept patting my back and winking harder and harder, clearly anxious. I stayed silent, stubborn. The woman smiled softly and brushed my messy hair behind my ear. "Well then, how about I make you something delicious to eat, I can cook steamed dumplings, meat pies, noodle stew, claypot chicken, stir-fried mustard greens, and lamb with dill." My stomach growled louder than my mouth could reply. I quietly swallowed a lump in my throat. The couple looked at each other and laughed. Their eyes sparkled with joy. The woman cheered, "Okay then, I'll take that as a yes." I got on the three-wheeled motorbike. The bumpy road shook us a bit, and the man carefully avoided every pothole. Each time the ride jolted too hard, he would awkwardly clear his throat in embarrassment. All the way, the woman held me close, afraid I might fall. She chatted warmly, "My name is Anna Harper, and this is my husband, George Harper. What's your name, sweetie?" I answered in a small voice, "Bo." The director had a habit of naming kids after whatever he saw at the time. I heard that when he found me, it was one of the coldest days of winter, and I was wrapped in nothing but a thin cloth. "Oh, Bo?" The woman blinked in surprise. "Now that's a bold name." "Bo it is. We just moved here from the countryside," she added. "We've never had kids before, and we're not sure how to raise a city girl. But don't worry. Now that we've brought you home, we'll take full responsibility, no matter what. If there's anything you want, just tell us," she said softly. A sour feeling rose in my chest, as bitter as a gulp of white vinegar. Back at that orphanage about to be shut down, no one ever asked me what I wanted. Everyone was too busy worrying about themselves. In the floating comment feed that always hovered above, I was the evil side character, the jinx that everyone wanted to stay away from. The trike sped down the dirt road, kicking up wind and dust. Something stung my eyes like gravel. I turned away and said nothing. When we got to their house, it was a small single-story place, but spotlessly clean. The woman rushed into the kitchen to cook. The man rummaged through a cabinet and pulled out a children's picture book. Scratching his head awkwardly, he asked, "Hey kiddo, can you read? This is the only book we've got that has pictures." I took the book and murmured, "Thank you." His eyes lit up. He turned toward the kitchen and shouted joyfully, "Anna," she said, "thank you. She's so polite." Anna called back playfully, "Look at you beaming like that. Don't get a big head." I couldn't help but feel they were overreacting. The orphanage director used to say that when you receive kindness, you must always say thank you, to make it count emotionally. It was something every child at the orphanage knew by heart. Soon, the smell of food filled the tiny kitchen. Anna brought out a whole table's worth of dishes. I was so eager to eat that the moment my dusty hands touched the edge of the table, a strong pair of arms suddenly lifted me up from behind. Let's wash our hands first, George said gently. He dragged over a small stool with his foot, placed me on it, and pumped the soap from the bottle. Carefully, he demonstrated. See? Before meals or after using the bathroom, you always wash your hands. Like this, first your palms, then the back of your hands, then between your fingers. His voice was calm and patient, but I was so anxious I almost cried. If we took any longer, they might finish the food without me. But to my surprise, when we returned to the table, Anna was still sitting there with a full set of bowls and chopsticks, smiling as she waited. Seeing the tears on my cheeks, she frowned at George and said, "Seriously? You had to teach her right now, when she's starving?" Right, I'm sorry, sweetheart," George said quickly and wiped my tears with the edge of his shirt. Anna gave a soft humph, then smiled and handed me the chopsticks. "You must be really hungry. Go ahead, eat." I snatched the chopsticks and started eating like I hadn't eaten in days. Anna gently patted my back. "Slow down, sweetheart." Watching me eat, George beamed. "Is it good?" I swallowed a mouthful of meat and blurted out instinctively, "Not really." Their smiles froze instantly. "Seriously? We worked so hard on this meal, enough to feed the two of us for half a month. You've got food, what more do you want? Eat it or leave." Typical ungrateful brat. Eat and then turn your back like a wide-eyed wolf. George waved it off with an awkward smile. Maybe the flavors are too strong? Kids might not be used to it yet. Anna took a bite of the minced meat and frowned thoughtfully. "Next time I'll use less oil." But I quickly shook my head. Tears fell silently into my bowl as I mumbled. At the orphanage, only the food that tasted bad wasn't fought over. I couldn't win against the others. The room fell into a sudden, heavy silence. Anna sniffled, then gently wiped my face with a tissue. "Sweetheart, you won't have to worry about going hungry ever again." George's eyes turned red too. He stood up and walked into the bedroom. A moment later, he returned holding a stack of small bills, 5s and 10s, and stuffed them into Anna's hand. "Go buy some fabric this afternoon," he said. "Sew her a clean set of clothes. Ugh, look at that. This villain girl sure knows how to play the pity card. And just like that, she's won over this gullible couple? Fine, keep saying dumb things if you want. But as long as this kid hasn't done anything bad, I'm not joining in on the hate. Some villains go on to scam people with fake health supplements. Don't act like she can change her nature. She's going to steal the heroine stuff, kick her out, and take her love too. A villain can't just wash that away." That evening, Anna took me for a stroll through the marketplace. I watched her carefully examine fabrics and groceries. Then, as she turned to another booth, I quietly slipped away. Winter had fallen fast. In what felt like an instant, the market had thinned out and grown cold. I rushed toward the glow of street lights. Somewhere in the distance, I heard someone calling my name. Moments later, Anna came running and wrapped me tightly in her arms. "You scared me to death." "I'm so sorry, Bo. I didn't watch you carefully." It wasn't a scolding. It was an apology. And for some reason, that made me feel strangely uneasy. Next to my ear, her voice trembled with emotion. I gently patted her on the back. She finally straightened up, then noticed the heavy bags of vegetables in my hands. The orphanage director had once told us, right before vendors pack up in the afternoon, you can often find leftover vegetables no one wants. One old lady even gave me some eggs and pork today. I opened each bag, showing her what I'd gathered. I ate a lot at lunch, so I figured these could help make up for it. Anna was silent. The lights behind her cast her in shadow, so I couldn't see her expression clearly. I continued, nervously. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get lost. I was trying to find the way back, but I couldn't." Suddenly, thud, those warm, strong arms pulled me into a hug again. Anna Harper rested her chin on my head and whispered, voice trembling, "Sweetheart, come home with me, okay? I'll sew you a brand new outfit." That short afternoon had somehow woven an invisible thread between us. Something gentle, something strong. I followed Anna Harper home, and little by little, I started to love the place. I began calling them by name, Anna and George. Anna had gifted hands. Whether cooking or crafting, she was incredibly talented. I heard she used to be the best rice planter in her entire hometown. George was strong as an ox and worked even harder than one. He liked to call himself just a simple guy, but he had a deep love for books and learning. That night, Anna took an old bedsheet and turned it into a curtain, hanging it beside my bed so I could pull it across when I wanted privacy. "You're still young," she told me, "but everyone deserves a little space of their own. When you go to bed, just pull the curtain shut, okay? And when we call you, we'll say, 'Open Sesame.' Sound good?" I nodded. That night, they stretched out their legs on the sofa in the living room, while I sank into the soft mattress, falling asleep the moment my head hit the pillow. In the haze of midnight, I faintly heard them whispering. "The director said she's almost 6. It's time to enroll her in school. I'll check out the nearest elementary tomorrow." "Yeah. We'll need to earn a little more money too. When she starts school, we can't let her go looking too shabby. Don't want her getting picked on. When she grows a bit, we'll have to move to a bigger house. There's no room for a study desk here, besides the dining table. Do you think we should learn standard English pronunciation? These days, every school expects kids to speak properly." Their quiet voices drifted into my ears like a lullaby. There were no children's screams in this house. No shouting. Just the soft exchange of two grown-ups talking about the future like it was something that belonged to all three of us. In a blink, a year had passed. We had moved into a new home, one with more space. I had my own room now, facing the morning sun. Every time Anna whispered the magic phrase, "Open Sesame," I'd sit up, grinning sleepily. She'd ruffle my hair. Time for breakfast, then school. The scent of steamed eggs and warm bao buns drifted from the kitchen. Even though our family wasn't well off, Anna and George treated me like a princess. People around us often said, "Spoil her like that, and she'll grow up rotten." But they didn't care. Our little girl went through enough before she even turned 6. She deserves a lifetime of happiness. Their love softened all the sharp edges inside me. Oh, and I got a new name too. One that George found after flipping through a dictionary for days. He said it symbolized a gentle and joyful life. My name is now Kayla Harper, and this is where my story begins. Our family life was simple but full of warmth, so much so that even the floating comments had grown less hateful lately. Until that day. I got into a fight with a boy in class. Back in the orphanage, kids used to hit me over food. I was all skin and bones back then, never strong enough to fight back. But now, I was healthier. Stronger. I managed to knock the boy down. I felt powerful. When the teacher scolded me, I didn't care. But not long after, she called George to the office. I had never seen George look so furious before, like he could chew someone up and spit them out whole. His fists clenched as he stormed toward me. In that moment, my blood turned cold, like I had fallen into an ice pit. There it is. The truth comes out. I knew it, Dylan girls can't fake being good forever. This couple is too honest. Even they couldn't change her. It's over. She's about to get dumped. I shut my eyes in despair. But then, a pair of big, warm hands gently touched my arm. "Are you hurt anywhere?" George asked, crouching in front of me, sweat beading on his forehead, scanning me from head to toe. He rushed here in the middle of work? The teacher let out a heavy sigh. "Mr. Harper, I already explained over the phone, your daughter Kayla hit another student, Lucas Johnson, first." George looked at me, completely unscathed, then looked at the boy beside me, whose face was bruised and swollen. He bowed deeply to both the teacher and the boy, apologizing again and again. The boy, emboldened, sneered. An apology isn't enough. You need to pay for my medicine too. Not 500, make it 1,000. Watching George bow repeatedly, agreeing with everything, made my chest tighten. I shoved the boy and snapped. I wasn't wrong. She's stubborn. Always has been. With that attitude, she'll be beyond saving when she grows up. Excuse me, another comment floated. Wasn't it the boy who mouthed off first? Why wouldn't she fight back? Honestly, if it were me, I'd have hit harder. Suddenly, George stood tall. The boy's gaze dropped to his shoes. I looked him straight in the eye. You said mean things. You need to apologize to us. The boy's face turned red with rage. I'll say it again and again. What are you gonna do? Everyone knows your parents are the biggest pushovers in town. People can walk all over them and they'll stay quiet. I could bully you to death and no one would do a thing. Hey, let me go. Let me go. George had grabbed the back of the boy's shirt and lifted him off the ground like a chick. The boy thrashed and wailed, tears streaming down his face. My mom's coming. You'll be sorry when she gets here. Seeing he still had no remorse, George carried him to the window and pretended to open it. Apologize, he said calmly. Or I'll toss you right out. The boy peeked out the fifth-floor window, then burst into loud sobs. Not long after, his mother came rushing in, panic-stricken. When she heard the full story, she immediately slapped and scolded her son in anger, openly admitting it was her own failure as a parent. Once the teacher understood what really happened, she formally apologized to both me and George. And just like that, the whole scene came to an end. On the way home, as George held my hand, I looked up at him and asked, George, why are your hands still sweaty? He let go and wiped them on his jeans. Probably just the heat. But I knew he was lying. When he picked up Lucas earlier, his hands were shaking, like trying to hold a bag of loose rice. This quiet, mild-mannered man had made a child cry just to protect me. Back home, Anna couldn't help but laugh. I don't think George has ever done anything that reckless in his life. Gotta admit though, he looked pretty cool. George's face turned beet red. He practically tried to hide inside his bowl of rice. My chest felt warm and full in a way I'd never known. The next day at school, no one dared say anything behind my back anymore. They all knew that not only could I win a fight now, but I also had George, strong as an ox and twice as loyal, on my side. I started to believe that life would stay peaceful and happy forever. But that night, I overheard Anna and George whispering in the living room. Their voices were full of worry. George spoke in a low voice. I don't know, do you think Kayla will be upset? Anna replied softly. Let's not tell her just yet. We'll wait a little longer. The protagonist? So it turns out, they were the real parents of the story's main heroine? No wonder they're so loved. Is the heroine about to be born? Then does that mean the villain girl, me, will start doing bad things again? Of course. Some natures don't change. She was only behaving before because she had no competition. Let's hope our little princess arrives safe and sound. The next day, George brought home a stack of brand new books for me. I quietly accepted them. On day 3, Anna gave me a bunch of new clothes. Still, I didn't ask questions. But on the 4th day, I began to wonder, why did they both seem to think I'd be upset? So I asked a girl in class, one who had younger siblings. She told me. When my second little brother was born, I never got the drumstick again. Even though I was still a kid, Mom made me take care of him like a grown-up. I love him, but sometimes I really hated him, too. If your mom has another baby, she said wisely, her love will get split. So that's it. Anna and George must be afraid that I wouldn't accept it either. On the weekend, Anna cheerfully offered to take me out to the market. Along the way, she hesitated a few times, clearly wanting to say something. But I already had an idea of what it was, so I just stayed quiet and waited. The hill road was narrow, and every so often a bike would rush past. Anna gripped my hand tightly and guided me to walk on the inside, close to the wall. But which way? Suddenly, a bicycle came barreling toward us. The man riding it panicked, slammed the brakes, and veered directly into our path. In that split second, I shoved Anna Harper toward the inside wall and pressed myself against her belly, using my back to shield her from the incoming bike. "Mom! Watch out!" Crash. The bike and the rider both slammed to the ground. Trying not to hit us, the man twisted his handlebars and tumbled into the street. Anna instinctively hugged me tight. Moments later, I felt something warm drop onto my head. I looked up and saw tears welling in Anna's eyes. "So, you knew already?" she whispered. She crouched down and held me tightly. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I just didn't know how to tell you. Do you think you'd like a baby brother or sister?" I nodded. "Yes. I'd like that. I'll be good to them." My classmate's warning still echoed in my mind, but I didn't agree with her. I had already received so much love from Anna and George, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to love this baby too. But there was something else I hadn't said aloud. I was the one who had taken all their love first. On the walk home, Anna suddenly stopped. "Kayla. Kayla. Just now, what did you call me?" "Anna," I replied, cheeks burning. "No, not that." Right before the bike hit. That was just. "Say it again," she urged, eyes hopeful. I hesitated, then said it. And just like that, both Anna and George's faces lit up with joy. That night, they sat me down at the dinner table and declared a family meeting. They even wrote up a little contract, stamped it with their thumbprints, and swore to always love and protect me like their own. Watching how serious they were, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Later, when the lights were off and I was tucked into bed, I called out toward the hallway. "Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad." I quickly shut the door. In the living room, I heard 2 stunned gasps. From that day on, George became more energetic than ever, working long hours at the construction site, coming home late, always pushing himself harder. Our lives felt brighter. Full of hope. That Friday evening, I skipped home with a 100-point test paper in hand, beaming with pride. But the moment I walked in, I froze. The house was filled with people, familiar faces. Men I vaguely remembered as George's coworkers. At first, I thought they were visiting. But no, they were pointing at things, arguing, moving stuff around, getting ready to take everything. TV. The brand new sofa. Uncle Wong was just about to haul out my study desk when George rushed to stop him. "Anything else is fine, but not that desk." Uncle Wong frowned. "Then how are you gonna pay us back, huh? Either give us the money, or the desk comes with me." Just then, Mom walked out from the bedroom holding a watch. "This one's worth more than the desk," she said. "Take it." I didn't know what was going on. But seeing these so-called brothers of my dad rummaging through our home like looters, calling themselves family while behaving like thieves, I was furious. The floating comments in the sky never stopped calling me a rotten seed, bad to the core. Well, if I'm going to be blamed no matter what, then what's stopping me from doing anything? I flung open the front door and threw myself down flat on the floor, right at the entrance. "Help! Someone help! There's a break-in at our house. Help!" The men, startled, dropped everything they were trying to carry out and scrambled to stop me. I started flailing, rolling around the floor, screaming at the top of my lungs. They were frozen, helpless, only daring to whisper. "Kid, lower your voice, please." It was dinner time. Everyone in the neighborhood was cooking. In no time, Mr. Zhang from next door stormed in holding a cleaver, and Mrs. Lee followed, waving a broom. "Kayla, what's going on in your house?" The men glanced at one another, embarrassed, and began backing away. Uncle Wong turned to my dad and barked. "We don't care, Your boss bailed, so you owe us. Pay up, or we're taking the desk. I kicked him in the shin and held out my hand. Give back the watch. He winced and raised his arm as if to strike me. Mrs. Lee stepped forward, blocking him with her broom. Give the girl her watch. Uncle Wang, furious, hurled the watch to the floor. I caught it before it hit the ground. Wait, why is the villain girl suddenly kind of adorable? Right? Normally I hate bratty kids throwing tantrums, but seeing those grown men shut down like that? Kind of satisfying. This couple is too nice. Without the villain girl, their whole house would have been emptied. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Good job, kid. Oh wow. Mrs. Lee picked up my test paper off the floor. 100 points. An A. You're amazing, Kayla. Mom came over and brushed the dust off me. My daughter is so smart. Dad held the test paper up, admiring it like a rare treasure, grinning ear to ear. Mom turned to the neighbors. Mr. Zhang, Mrs. Lee, don't bother cooking tonight. Come have dinner with us. During dinner, I finally understood what had happened. The construction project Dad was working on had been suddenly halted. The site owner vanished without paying anyone. Since Dad and the owner were from the same hometown and occasionally chatted, the workers assumed Dad was easy to pressure. So even though Dad never got paid a cent, and just lost his job, they were demanding that he make up the difference out of his own pocket. Seeing Dad's tired, defeated face, I had an idea. I tugged on Mom's sleeve. Mom, the Baozi shop near my school isn't nearly as good as yours. She looked at me in surprise. Then her eyes lit up. That weekend, Mom and Dad were busy the whole time. On Monday morning, before I left for school, Mom woke up extra early and steamed a giant pot of baozi, filled with all kinds of delicious fillings. She walked me to school, handed me a warm food container, and said, Kayla, share some with your friends and see if they like them, okay? Looks like they're doing market research now. This family really has vision. Of course, what else would you expect from the heroine's mom? Smart and quick on her feet. Credit to the villain girl too, if she hadn't pointed it out, no one would have realized how bad that Baozi shop near the school was. Tasted awful but still made money. This kind of family teamwork is way more endearing than all the usual drama. I love it. I came home with the empty thermal container. Mom. My classmates said your baozi were the best they've ever had. They even asked if I could bring breakfast for them next time. Mom's face lit up with joy. Really? But I told them no, I added. Just making a few portions won't earn much anyway. Dad laughed, sweetheart, your mom and I already asked around about rental prices. A food stall outside school runs about $200 a month. I've already used up my savings paying off the workers, so we're planning to save a bit more and start next month. I shook my head. Why not set up inside the school cafeteria? I already gave the principal a baozi to try, he loved it. The rent for a cafeteria booth is way cheaper. Soon after, Mom's baozi stall officially opened inside the school canteen. Dad stopped going to the construction site and devoted himself fully to helping with the business. I promoted the stall to all my classmates. At first, they bought out of kindness, but after a while, they didn't need convincing. Everyone lined up on their own. So much so that sometimes I got there late and had to stand at the very back. By the time I reached the front, my favorite filling was usually gone. Beef and carrot, again? Seriously? I was about to complain. Life had been so peaceful, I'd forgotten the food fight survival skills I mastered at the orphanage. Just then, Dad pulled out a baozi wrapped just for me from behind the counter. I took a bite, stuffed full of beef and carrot. Thanks, Dad. Grinning, I tapped my student card to pay and walked off. A few months later, Mom stepped back from the stall to rest during her pregnancy. Dad ran everything himself, now a baozi expert thanks to Mom's training. One sunny afternoon, Dad asked my teacher for permission to pick me up early from school. I waited in the hospital hallway for my parents to come out with the baby. Then, the sound of a newborn's cry echoed through the corridor. My little sister was born. By the time I got accepted into a prestigious high school, my parents had saved up enough to buy us a small apartment near campus. They opened a new Bowsy shop right outside the school gates, and soon had a loyal crowd of student regulars. And my little sister? Hannah Harper. Pfft. She spat out whatever she had in her mouth. The Bowsy isn't even cooked all the way through. When Hannah was 2, I had to dig out a giant chunk of raw dough from her mouth. She wailed for an hour. Hannah Harper. Stop following me. Preschoolers aren't allowed on my campus. When Hannah was 5, she cried and begged to follow me to school. I purposely made a stern face to chase her away. Funny, isn't it? Those old floating comments about me seem to be coming true in the strangest, most ridiculous way. But despite everything, we loved each other like real sisters, and over time, we even started to look alike. We never expected that someone would try to come between us. When I got accepted into a top-tier university, my parents hung a bright red banner in front of our Bowsy shop. Congratulations to our daughter Kayla for getting into University B. Free Bowsy today, limit 3 per person. All 4 of us were busy from dawn. We gave away over 1,000 Bowsy that day. New and regular customers alike offered their congratulations, filling the shop with warmth and laughter. My parents were over the moon. To celebrate having a daughter in such a prestigious school, my family, encouraged by relatives, hosted a big thank you banquet for my teachers. We invited teachers, classmates, and relatives from out of town. In the middle of the banquet, one particularly tactless relative suddenly blurted out, "Kayla's grades are amazing, but why is Hannah doing so poorly?" He frowned and turned to my parents. "Are you spending all your attention on the older one and neglecting the little one?" Before my parents could reply, the woman next to him jabbed him in the ribs and added, "Come on, Kayla isn't even their biological child, how could she and Hannah turn out the same? Running a Bowsy business is hard enough. How could they give both girls equal care?" Oh boy. Here we go. Sister versus sister, live drama incoming. No way. Not these two. Unless Kayla got possessed, there's no way she'd hurt her sister. To be fair, Hannah's grades really weren't great. My parents never pressured her. She was still young. But now, being shamed in front of everyone, their faces turned bright red. Hannah opened her mouth to respond, but I slammed my hand on the table. I grabbed a bottle of Laoshan herbal tea, bitter as ever, and strode toward them with a cold smile. "So, Uncle Nick and Aunt Laura, right?" I said, smoothly. "I heard you two don't drink alcohol. So allow me, the junior, to toast you with tea instead." As I poured their cups to the brim, I continued. "By the way, where's your daughter Daisy? Heard she's repeating a grade again this year? If I'm not mistaken, this would be her 3rd time repeating, yes? Let me tell you something, children's education isn't about pushing them. It's about nurturing them. My little sister is only 11. With a big sister like me, an Ivy League student, helping her, she'll be just fine. And worst case scenario? With our family's current income, $150,000 a year. Even if she stayed home collecting bank interest, she'd still be earning more than most college grads. She can be whatever she wants in the future. Because when you have money, you have options." 150,000, I repeated, smiling. Aunt Laura's eyes went wide. She looked my parents up and down, dressed in their worn-out clothes, unable to believe the humble farmers they once were had become so successful. I raised my glass. "To both of you. Wishing Daisy success in next year's college entrance exams." Uncle Nick and Aunt Laura looked at each other, and drank it all in one go. A second later, Uncle Nick's face turned beet red. I gently spun him around and nudged the trash can toward him. Before he could even reach for it, he threw up all over himself. The whole table burst out laughing. Nick, man. Why are you always the clown wherever you go? As I returned to my seat, Hannah leaned in, pouting. You totally stole the spotlight again. Why didn't you let me go first? And what exactly would you have done? I raised an eyebrow. Used those skinny arms of yours to fight them? Or maybe that sharp little tongue to argue them into a corner? Hannah rolled her eyes. Okay, you win. I'll admit it, whatever was in that drink you gave them worked. I just sniffed it and nearly threw up my breakfast. I smirked. Of course. I already knew those two weren't exactly angels. She pointed toward Dad. Look, there he goes again, handing them tissues. Sure enough, Uncle Nick sat there, face flushed with shame, while Dad fumbled to hand him tissues and help clean up. My parents grew up in a time when family ties meant everything, so it's hard for them to cut people off, no matter how toxic. Don't worry about it, I told Hannah, patting her head. Mom and Dad are too kind. You have to protect them when I'm away at college. But they love you more, she muttered. No, they love you more. Nope. You. That's right. It's you. The corner of her lips quivered, and a tear sparkled at the edge of her eye. A second later, she lunged forward and hugged me tight. Sis, I'm really gonna miss you. You have to come home often, okay? Excuse me, are we witnessing the most heartwarming sister moment in all of Asia? Honestly, I just came online to see this. Feels like the old days when Big Sis wasn't the villain girl yet. Funny thing is, when Hannah was little, she was actually quieter than even our parents. But the more time she spent around me, the more lively and bold she became. Our parents never forced her to be any certain way, they just let her grow freely. And I think that's a wonderful way to raise a child. In this world, there are kind, gentle people like our parents. And there should also be sharp, quick-witted ones like Hannah and me. Kindness shields the sharp, and sharpness protects the kind. When the party ended, our whole family walked home together. On the way, Dad suddenly said, Kayla, we don't actually make $1 million a year, you know. I patted his shoulder. Don't worry, Dad, I've already done the math. With our current profit margin and the new residential complex being built nearby, our sales are going to skyrocket. Soon we can expand, open franchises, launch an online shop. Breaking the $1 million mark is just a matter of time. Mom's jaw dropped. Heavens, that's huge. That night, before I left for college, I went to bed early but couldn't sleep. Late into the night, I heard their voices murmuring in the living room. Mom whispered. You know, the Sky's comments finally started saying nice things. Dad sighed. Good thing we didn't listen to them back then. That was the best decision we ever made. Mom's voice was soft and gentle. Exactly. A child that small, how could anyone believe she was born to be bad? If we had all treated that little girl like a villain and pushed her into a corner, Mom said softly, then that's when she truly would have become one. Evil isn't the cause, it's the result. If we plant kindness, kindness is what will grow. Dad nodded vigorously and clapped his hands. You always say it best. That actually makes a lot of sense. The two of them got so wrapped up in their conversation, they lost track of time. Until the bedroom door suddenly swung open. Go to sleep already. Hannah shouted, peeking her head out. You still have to open the Bowsy shop tomorrow. All right, they replied. The living room grew quiet again. So, my parents had seen the floating comments all along. Years later, I finally understood that look they had back then, the way it shifted from doubt to quiet determination. I still remember the first words they ever said to me. Sweetheart, do you want to come home with us? I'll take you for a ride on the trike. Tears welled up in my eyes, bitter and sweet at the same time. Moonlight slipped in through the window blinds. I closed my eyes and drifted into peaceful sleep. The Bowsy shop continued to thrive. My parents never franchised, and they never sold online. They stayed true to the handmade warmth of fresh Bowsy, served hot, enjoyed in person by the neighborhood. When Hannah found out the idea for the Bowsy shop had originally come from me, she started secretly competing with me, desperate to prove she had contributed to the family too. She recorded heartfelt, everyday moments between our family and the customers and posted them on social media. She even messaged local TV programs. And one day, a real film crew came to our neighborhood to do a feature on our tiny Bowsy shop. When the episode aired, not only did our neighbors flood in, but tourists from far away came just to try it too. Our shop officially became locally famous, even appearing on television. This was what positive rivalry between the heroine and the so-called villain girl looked like, working together to make the family better. I used to be so narrow-minded, but this chapter of our story warmed my heart. And I had to admit it, Hannah had vision. Who would have thought a tiny Bowsy shop could really pull in over $150,000 a year? 4 years later, I turned down a high-paying job at a large corporation and chose instead to join a non-profit child welfare organization. Before starting work, I planned to go home and spend some time with my family. Just as I stepped off the plane, someone suddenly covered my eyes from behind. A petite figure giggled. Guess who? I couldn't help but laugh. Hannah let go, and there were my parents, each pulling a suitcase, both beaming. Hannah grabbed my hand and bounced excitedly. Surprise! We're taking you on a trip. Our whole family's never gone on vacation together, right? This was my idea. Awesome, huh? Mom smiled. Hannah's right. Once you start work, you won't get many breaks. So before you begin, we're taking a proper family vacation. I was overwhelmed with joy. Completely caught off guard, but so happy. Hannah pushed me toward the boarding gate. Dad came over and took my suitcase. Let me carry that for you. And just like that, they escorted me onto the plane. The plane took off not long after, soaring above the city, up into the clouds. Back in front of the Bowsy shop, a sign had been taped to the door. Closed for family vacation. The shop owners and their family of 4 are away on a trip. We're truly sorry if you came in vain. To make it up to you. Take a photo with this sign and your next visit will be on the house. We wish you happiness, peace, and all the best.